Check. Yo, it's your boy Flewnt. We're back here with another Breaking Down the Bars, episode 10, with none other than Optimus and Disaster representing Downsyde SBX. Let's go. So my brothers, as a part of this episodes and all these specials that we do with Breaking Down the Bars, I'm going to ask you where you're from and who's your mob.
Alright, so I'm half Burmese, half Malay. Syllabolics is the mob, I guess.
And your like family, like Smith family, they have like quite a bit of like, they're iconic in the music scene around not just WA, right? Like tell us a bit about your family. My
grandfather basically left Myanmar or Burma during the war and that. Basically all the children, all my uncles and aunties are basically a family band.
Well,
the whole family.
Incredible, bro.
So they basically travelled on boat, hit Singapore and that, and went through Malaysia and that, and basically played like big band swing. So
your granddad managed the band?
Managed the band, ran the band, taught them how to basically play.
And then all your aunts and uncles playing it, like Jackson 5?
Yeah, basically same thing, but big band
Crazy
swing vibes. And
that's incredible, bro.
Yeah, and then I suppose I just grew up watching them, listening to them in pubs and that.
So obviously that's a big part of who you are now and how you sort of...
Definitely, that's where the musical influence comes from and all the confidence and being on stage and that, yeah.
You know what, early in the Downsyde days, we recorded it at Dad's mum and dad's house in Belmont. And I was amazed, I didn't come from a family with a lot of musical background. Me and my brother were the first musicians. So when I went and recorded at Dad's, we'd be recording at like 4 AM. And his mum and dad would be totally cool with it. We'd be like banging beats.
They were just down with it because they knew what the vibe was.
Man, Dad's mum would bring in a bowl of curry at like 5 AM. We'd be trying to finish a single off.
Yeah.
And I just...
It makes so much sense.
And we actually wrote Land of the Giants, our first record, there on a $150 computer with a $200 mic. Yeah. And that got released in 18 countries and got signed to EMI, or worldwide. And we did that in that bedroom.
No one knew Kaz, and you obviously got such respect for Daz's background and his musical influences. What were some of yours in your mob and your family?
Yeah,
what were some of the things that influenced you to become who you are?
I think like for me, and I tell this story a lot because a lot of workshops I do, I'm always relating to definitely having a troubled youth, and mine was probably about having, like processing issues, cognitive issues. I didn't do well at school, but I knew that I had a passion for creativity.
Yeah.
And then what I realise now is that my nan was a bush poet, right?
Yeah.
And she always used to get me to write whenever I saw her, from when I was a young fella, and even when she went into a retirement village, I can remember sitting with her as she got older, and I'd go up there, even when I was 16, 17, and I would write. She would sit down in her garden and she would give me a serviette with a pen, anything like an envelope and I now that I think about it, my creative kind of like and passion for words comes from my grandmother and her love for poetry. And then whenever I saw her, I always saw it as something she did with all the grandkids, but it's not till I got, and had a career in being a creative writer that I realised that it was just something she gave me.
So it's something that you really enjoyed, but it was kind of ingrained in you as well.
Because
it was a part of your family history or part of your sort of genes, I guess, in a way,
And it helped me through a lot of hard times, and I think she knew that.
That's
incredible. And we never had that discussion, so we never talked about that.
Yeah,
right.
But you know about
it. And that's, I think that's pretty amazing, and that's part of what I suppose and I'm speaking for Daz here as well, but probably drove us into that community realm as well. As soon as we were touring, we were working on workshops.
I was going to ask, like, if you both came from such musical backgrounds, you and Daz, how did that sort of formulate your friendship to become a partnership in creating Downsyde? Could you, maybe Daz, can you talk a bit about how you sort of formed that relationship together, and do you think that having musical backgrounds is what attracted you as partners in doing this sort of music and what you do?
But I think because when we met, it was at TAFE, right?
Yeah, I suppose it was more TAFE, wasn't it? Really,
it was TAFE, but I think
shout out to TAFE.
But I reckon the common thing was probably this thing where we were like, just sort of representing yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was. I just got that vibe from Scotty. I was like, when he first showed me the tape.
Yeah, our first demo
behind the
tape.
bucket.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never heard it before, and I was like, what's this? This is killer. I'm into this.
So for a very special breaking down the bars with Downsyde, it's not going to be your, typical sort of breaking down the bars. We got something very special, and it's Daz hitting the MPC, why they break down the bars, and my brothers, what song are you actually going to do for this?
We were thinking about doing a new single we popped last year.
Yeah.
We got brother boy Benny Bajar, who couldn't be here tonight, so shout out to Benny Bajar.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good one because we've got elections coming up, and there's definitely a message to Scott Morrison in there as well.
Let's go, beloved.
Yeah. We're a little block party, let's go. Hey, trying to say that we don't know squat. You know what? ScoMo's a flop. More concerned with the photo op. It's why the fire will remain when the smoke is gone. Our worst nightmare, and he's living a dream. Sipping on the tea with the cricket team. And I'm pistol Pete when I shoot from the hip. You ain't a leader, you're a useless prick. And that's right, that's putting it nicely. Our country burning while you're in Hawaii. How timely that you might leave. I send my props to the fireys and to Scott, y'all flipping the bird. Take a leaf out of the book of Jacinda Ardern. But you never learn, never earn your spot. And that's why you don't deserve your job.
Hey, it's time to take action. Me and you gain the knowledge and see what we can do. The politicians won't seek the proof. They're like Ray Charles, I think the truth. Yeah. We all live in this community, man. It's time to learn how to read this beautiful land. Instead of hoping for the police to confuse the plan, let's make them watch where they step like a poo in the sand. We all really gotta face the deep instead of fighting each other on the Facebook feed. Locally on the land to breathe, for the animals to die when you relax and read. For the people that lost the door when they felt like no one got the call. To the troops that walk the ball, we're gonna step on the court and walk the floor.
My brothers, oh my God, naughty. Oh man, just such, that is so good. Thank you so much for coming through and doing that for me.
Hey, man,
I really appreciate that so much. I hope that anybody listening or watching is just feeling exactly what you're trying to say. So I guess for this breaking down the bars, I feel like the lyrics are very, very clear. What you're trying to do and say. What do you hope for, and what do you hope those that listen act upon when they hear these sort of lyrics? These are activist lyrics. These are such true and staunch and strong words. What is the ultimate thing to hopefully come from these sort of songs that you make like this?
Yeah, well, I think there's probably like a couple of things. For me, if I was to bring anything from where my inspiration came from with hip hop, it was listening to voices that did have statements that were political. And I think sometimes that gets lost in translation now with so much information and content that sometimes something that can be quite quick and obvious to hear is more often the message. So I think that being able to make statements and get people thinking, and the context, like a song like that we wrote like that was kind of inspired obviously by the bushfires, but also about the mismanagement of our country and the issues that we have even right now when we talk about politics. And if someone's listening to this in a year's time, it'll probably be a similar issue. And I think as rappers, we need to address those things. Hip hop came from struggle.
There's an important part about that I just heard you saying, is that mismanagement, and there's also a conservation mismanagement that's happened within our country. I feel like, maybe there's things that they could have taken and understood, maybe from First Nations people. Is there any, when you hear these songs and you talk about these bushfires, Daz, do you feel like there's a consideration that maybe things could have happened in a different way if there was a...
I think, kind of the way a country's run, I guess, is the bureaucracy, and the complexity of how information is kind of gathered also kind of just would dismiss something kind of obvious is like, well, you know, how many thousands and thousands of years of experience do you have dealing with this stuff?
And 70,000
And then they
plus.
just dismiss it, like, like just dismissed. And then like, I suppose because I kind of say sort of like locally, I kind of sort of say the word locally and sort of harp on that a bit because it's very different, the information, how you would basically kind of learn and live about a place here. You wouldn't learn about it like from someone over east. It's here. It's very local where you're at. So
it is definitely. This is a big place. We live in.
That's right.
The country changes.
That's
so
right.
often.
You can't apply like one. Just, I mean, even WA couldn't apply the same kind of tactic.
No way.
Across the state.
As Tweed Heads or Byron Bay or somewhere it's greener or rainforest. It's interesting too when we wrote the song and we reached out to Victor Sorensen who wrote Fire Country, and that's basically in a non-religious way the Bible for fire management, and it was written before the bushfires. And then he became someone who could speak on you know, ABC or NITV, all these big forums they did during the bushfires. But why was that the time that someone like Victor, who's so powerful, and we reached out to him, it's so knowledgeable, and we reached out to him and said, can we use some of your speech in our song?
Yeah.
And he heard the song, he's like absolutely you can use it. And you know, he was just amazingly appreciative of the fact that we were writing about it. And I think we're in a political time, whether you're talking COVID or you're talking about, we're in a really kind of dangerous time and an interesting point in, I think, where there's a lot of polarizing issues. People are choosing a side. And I think that hip hop, and as we've seen in different political uprisings that have happened in the last 5 or 6 years that have been led by young rappers in Africa and in Europe as well. It's a very important voice, and you have the opportunity to speak with authority and to be able to change, you know, maybe the way people think as well.
Definitely.
Or support views of other people that support you as well.
I feel like that's such an incredible thing for you brothers to be able to use your platform and speak to your audience to be able to put those messages out into the world. And I really do say genuinely that I appreciate that you use that for that reason.
Thank you, brother.
Nothing but love for you.
Thank you, bro.
Okay, straight up. My boss. I guess one more thing on a lighter note. What can we expect from Downsyde at Flewnt's Borroloo Block Party? What are you going to bring to the block party? What is something? I know, like, I've been to so many Downsyde sets. I grew up listening to your music. I know what it's like. But what can the audience that may not have seen you or that have seen you many times, what can they expect from you guys, Daz?
Oh, just energetic fire.
That's it. That's it.
Oh no, what can they say from you, my brother?
Well, I think that this performance particularly is going to be like some pent up energy, you know, like we've been locked down, we haven't been able to tour, and we're a band that tours, we tour hard, like we get out there and play, like, and I think, you know, if we ain't touring, then like Downsyde ain't ticking. It's pretty much part of our fibre, it's a genetic thing. It's like the band writes better when we go to the studio, we need to be touring. And so I think like a show like this is a lot of pent up, beautiful energy where we're like ready to unleash. And I love that idea of it being the Perth Festival and there being big production and choirs and brass, and like that's where we're our best. And you know, from playing Splendour in the Grass and Blues and Roots Festival and Falls Festival, all the things we've done, there's nothing better than coming home and smashing a big show with a home crowd. It's like playing the grand final on your home ground. Pretty much.
I'm so glad I'm able to bless the stage with you, my brother.
Hey, thank you, bro.
Let's go.
I'm excited.
So, make sure you catch Downsyde at Flewnt's Borroloo Block Party, February the 26th at the European Whole Food Warehouse. Click the link below for tickets and let's go.
Let's go.